Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to talk to us here today.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
How are you?
Good, great. A little tired.
You look a little tired, but ready to go.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. I guess we should explain quickly why we have two vocalists from two separate bands here, and it's because you guys are both on the same label, which is E Pluribus Unum, which was a label founded by Adam Duritz. And I guess my first question is how did you guys first get involved with Adam, and how did he approach you to join his label?
Well, you were approached first.
We knew Adam from when their first record came out. We were on a different label and we were on RCA, and we met him in the Crows on a Cranberries tour that we both opened for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just always stayed in touch, and they invited us to open a bunch of tours for them throughout their, from their first album till now, and we just became good friends, and he was always a supporter of the band, and when we ran into label problems, he really bailed us out, because we were signed to an English label that was a nightmare, and an American label that was a nightmare, and we were very unhappy, and he was kind of like, I just started this label, and I want you to be on it, and blah, blah, blah.
And here it is.
And from there, yeah.
What about Joe 90?
With Joe 90, I used to be in a band called God's Child, and we got out of our deal and then started this band Joe 90 and started playing in Los Angeles, and Adam lives in Los Angeles, and he used to we were doing a residency at a club called the Opium Den, and he used to come down and see us play. And we were actually getting ready to do another deal, and he thought we were already signed, and then when he found out that it had not been, that we'd not actually signed the deal yet, he told us about his record, and they were just about to start their record, and he invited us up to be involved in the record, and really, sort of hit a sweet spot with us, talking to us about how much creative control we would have if we did something with him, and that he would get involved, and how he'd be involved in our record, and how we got involved in his. So it just seemed like really what we wanted after having done 2 records with a major label. One of the things that I found is most important is really the creative control. On our first record, we had complete creative control, and it was successful, and we just really didn't like the feeling of not having that, and that was something that Adam assured us of. So we felt really, really strongly about wanting to do it, do it with him. Now,
I know that you touched on something a second ago about how you were having troubles with your other labels, and it took a good 5 years between the last Gigolo Ants album, Flipping Out, and the new one, which is already almost a year since it's been out, but still. What happened in those 5 years? What was going on?
Crying, heartache, breakups with girlfriends.
Many songs.
A lot of songs. We just kept writing and playing, and 2 of the members of the original 4 of us left, and we replaced them with 2 other guys, and that were really hungry to tour and write and be in a rock and roll band, and it was just a lot. It's so boring to go into. It was just a lot of mistakes. When we were young, when we signed the deal, we had a bad lawyer at the time. We signed a stupid deal we never should have, and but we were constantly on the road touring to promote our last record, so we didn't know. And when it came time to do another record, we saw one way, RCA saw the other way, and there was no middle ground. And,
right.
We did our second record, and we stopped it about 9/10 of the way through because we weren't happy with it. They wanted to release it, and we didn't, and it was a stalemate.
Was there ever a doubt that the band would survive through all this turmoil?
There's always a doubt, but I mean, it's like I'm sure it's the same for Chris and the other guys in both our bands. It's the only thing that, for me, it's the only thing I can do. And,
right.
I'm going to make music whether someone pays for it or not. I'm going to play in a rock and roll band because I love being in bands. So it was Adam was like the knight in shining armor. And it's true. One thing that probably both of us realize: if you can't call up your president of your label, if you don't have his home number and you can't call him up at 3 o'clock in the morning to complain, or to ask him a question, or to ask him for advice on your girlfriend or whatever, then you're not on the right label.
Right.
And because they're the only people that are going to get support in a stable of bands, are those people that have that kind of access to the president or the founder or whatever. And
right.
I mean, we live at Adam's house sometimes.
Right.
So
it seems everything that I've read makes it seem like it's a family. Like all the bands that
the way the touring situation is.
Yeah, everyone bugs that we all come out on the last song, Hanging Around, which is the first Counting Crows single, and we did Conan O'Brien a few weeks ago, and we come out at the end of the shows, and people are always like, wow, that looks like so much fun. Is it a put on, or are you guys really? And we've actually been on this vibe for like almost a year. Like I was saying, when we made the Joe 90 record, Adam was coming to our house. We'd see, you know, we'd go to Adam's and watch them make the record. Dave would be on the scene, and we'd sort of play on each other's gigs. Guesting on all the records and the shows. So it's like this has been like our life for the past year. So it is very old school in that you always hope for that when you're a kid, that thing of like bands being friends and being creatively involved. And so it's just been, you know, we've created something, or we've all been part of something that I think is really special, because it is hard. It seems like the easiest thing to have, but it isn't. It isn't always the easiest thing to have. Participation from other musicians, you know, and that kind of feeling, and it's just been really cool. Now
you mentioned earlier that God's Child was the band that I guess Joe 90 was before. Were you worried? And you had some success with that band. Were you worried in the name change and in the different direction that you'd lose fans?
It was a very organic thing for us. We had a strange thing. We kept evolving, and as we were evolving, we were making records. It was kind of strange. The first record was just myself and Gary, the keyboard player. Then Craig joined on the second album, Aluminum, and then Adam joined on the tour. So we were constantly finding the right people. This is the band that Gary and I have been trying to get our whole lives. So when we came off the road after Aluminum, we just met Adam Hamilton, our drummer. He and I had just started writing. So we had a great, regardless of what we were going to do in terms of a record company, which we knew we would sort out, we were really excited about the music we were making and looking forward to getting into a new situation. Because we signed with Quincy Jones, and we had a great first record situation. And then things changed at Warner Brothers, and his label went to the bottom of the pile. So, you know, it was like we were kind of looking forward to getting out of that situation. And, you know, our own situation had gotten better and had changed. So the name thing, we just put out a Christmas single under the name of Joe 90, and then everyone sort of got interested in it. We just felt it was the right time for us to just change and be this thing that it had evolved into.
Is it frustrating to you when the press latches on to certain situations and exaggerates them to the point where perhaps it gets blown out of proportion?
Yeah, it annoys me when they refuse to talk about the songs that I spent fucking 6 months of the year writing. That annoys me. It's like we're in the papers every day in England, right? Literally every single fucking day of our lives we're in the papers. Not one of it. Well, I don't think there's any dates related to music.